Good morning, everyone. Once again, this is the Associated Guess. I, as always, am your host, Alfie Animus, here at the Bear in Mind channel. Today, we pick up the story I regrettably didn't get to cover yesterday. Marjorie Taylor Greene continues to be one of the most corrupt politicians in Congress. We go into Greta Thunberg, who apparently is now somehow pro-oil. And if we have time, then we'll get into what's going on in California right now. But let's get into it.
They've had everything at this point. Might as well have a retarded person. Now Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was on CNN. And this is always very useful, right? CNN, they love to, just like Anna Navarro, just like S.E. Cupp, they love someone who can say, I used to be a Republican, but. And then they go, see? Even the Trump voters, even the conservative voters feel this way, where you would have nothing in common with Anna Navarro. You would have very little in common at all with someone like S.E. Cupp or Michael Steele. And I guarantee you, if you actually sat down for a lunch, you would realize that Marjorie Taylor Greene is disingenuous and crazy. This just happened live. Let's watch the first clip. Marjorie Taylor Greene, what's she saying here?
This one's on Israel.
Okay.
Noodles, did you have a one-liner? Okay.
Makes absolutely no sense, Pamela.
That's
going
Dog the Bounty
into
Hunter. That's
midterm elections. Let's remove Donald Trump out of it. Let's just put any president in there. Why would an American president lead his political party into the midterms, waging a full-scale major war, completely unprovoked on...
Stop. Because it's not about politics. See, and this is the thing with politicians these days. They see everything in partisan politics. All people like Marjorie Taylor Greene sees is that this will hurt the party or her chances for re-election. I don't think so much her, because I think she's already announced that she's stepping down. Thank God. She still needs to be investigated for fraud. But this whole thing's performative. The only thing that she doesn't like is that she has many illegals working for her company. That's I think whatever state she's from. Oh yeah, she's already stepped down. But this is the main thing. That's all that these people seem to be thinking in the terms of. When in reality, look, you can say it's not a good time for it, but you can't say that he's betrayed his base, because he's been talking about the Iran thing for a very long time. And this is one of the things that I actually agree with him on. And considering the lead up to it, he said to the Iranian people, help is on the way. And they went out into the streets, and many of them were slaughtered because they stood up for themselves in the streets. Now, I'm not saying that he's solely doing this for the Iranian people. I'm not that naive. However, after he said help was on the way and he saw that happen, then this happened. He went in. Well, we're not going in. We're airstrikes, sea battles so far, and other countries, the surrounding countries that Iran frantically bombed after a few targeted strikes from the U.S. and Israel. They're going in on the ground. Israel's going in on the ground. We are not. And I'm fine with that, 100%. And people are saying that the West doesn't support this war. I'm fine with that too. They've lost the plot. I've gone in to research a lot of what some of these politicians in Europe were elected on. They've done just the opposite. Whether they were left or right, they all allowed mass migration into their countries. And we see how it is now.
On Iran, on behalf of Israel, and that's the way most Americans see it. They see this is for Israel, not for America. Why would an American president do?
Because people like you were saying stupid shit like this is Israel's war. Look, just because Israel benefits from something does not make it an Israel thing. I mean, usually when your goals, when your I don't even know what to say on this. When your objectives line up, what's good for one is usually good for the other. And the fact that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene are pushing this, mind you, this is someone who, my God, I just looked at her and she kind of looks like, you remember Vigo from Ghostbusters 2? Anyway, that's rude. But this is someone who said there were Jewish space lasers. They're what caused the fires in Hawaii. I saw some of the videos. They were interesting videos. I'll give them that. But Jewish space lasers specifically, not global elite space lasers, not this, not that, but the Jews, one of the smallest percentages of people in the world, as far as people from a major religion. Come on.
Do that, which is forcing gas prices to hike right here going into spring break where families are going to be driving out of town, going into
you can't start a war right now. You'll ruin spring break.
Summer, declaring and waging a major full-scale war.
Full scale again.
That seems to have no end in sight.
I just want to say she's seen enough sun. I mean, look at this skin. She looks like a handbag.
That is not de-escalating. It's escalating every single day. And
I know that's rude,
it just
but I
doesn't make
don't
sense. And the American people did not vote for this. This is not what we campaigned for.
Okay.
It's what he campaigned for. He didn't. This isn't one of the things that he specifically pushed during the election cycle, but if for anyone, and my God, especially if you're someone who gets very emotional about the political state of the world, about politics in general, about your candidate, about your side, do any little bit of research. Okay, I can pull it up in 10 seconds. I can find a clip of him talking about this for the last 5, 10, 20, what was it, the 80s, 40 years, talking about Iran. Okay, pretty much since the dictatorship took power. People are, I don't know. This is like someone watching their significant other have sex in front of them, and then they just happen to trip over them or something, and they're like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing this!" Like, no, it's been happening. You've just been looking. I don't know where. I don't know why I'm doing things with my hands and face right now. I probably shouldn't have said that after what I said previously because it sounds weird considering you can't see me. But I'm moving like you can see me, but you can't. So I'm going to stop.
So a couple of things. It's not de-escalating, it's escalating. Drone launches down by 95%, missiles down by 90% since the start of the war. More allies in the region entering into the war, saying that this is only in the interest of Israel. Well, no, actually, the majority of the American people actually support it. If you look at no end in sight, Donald Trump gave a timeline. He said, it might take he said at one point it might take a couple of months, but now we're on a shorter timeline because things are being accomplished at a very rapid rate. The gas price is going up. Well, that's a temporary issue that we knew could transpire.
Yeah, and that's the shitty thing about the gas prices. Apparently, it's based it's a global market, so all the prices are based on what's happening in the world. So the Strait of Hormuz, even though most of that oil doesn't come to us, it still affects the global gas price. Why? Fuck, I don't know, but apparently that's the case. I've Googled it. I've checked a lot of sites. I've put it through 4 AI. They all come up the same.
As opposed to Iran getting to the point where no one could stop them from locking down the Strait of Hormuz. So, everything she just said, it's echoing what the left has said, yes. And it's the opposite of reality. It is the regime is shrinking. Our alliances are stronger than they were before, not just Israel, but other people in the region because of Iran acting as Iran does. Iran's leaders have been taken out. Their missile capabilities are down. Their drone capabilities are down. They're in a weakened state. And we probably won't be there for more than another few weeks. At least not at this current scale, which she says is large scale.
Full scale. She didn't say large scale, she said full scale. By the way, there's no tanks on the ground.
Yeah.
No.
There's
no divisions
nothing
on the ground.
No.
It's just been an air battle and a naval battle.
At most, there may be a few elite strike teams on the ground, but as far as anything shows, there are no American forces on the ground in Israel, except that one plane that crashed.
Battle.
Right.
Full scale. What are you talking about? No end in sight. What war had an end in sight?
Right.
Ever. What war did they start? They go, oh, well, this will be over by afternoon.
Yeah, exactly.
Never.
Mostly ones where they were wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, no end. Thank God this war has an end in sight. Yeah, the war should be over.
And I cannot stand. I saw just a little bit before I got on. Someone was comparing what Trump's doing in Venezuela, in Iran, in Cuba, as the appeasement of Hitler. These are not the same thing. We're not taking Venezuela as an American territory. We're not taking Iran as an American territory. Cuba would be probably a good idea since it's right there, but we're more than likely not going to take Cuba as an American territory. They would probably like it very much, but probably not going to happen. What is happening is Cuba contacted the United States for the first time in a very, very, very long time to talk, to negotiate. And again, love them or hate them. The fact that 3 dictatorial communist regimes, well, 2 dictatorial communist regime and then 1 just regular religious dictatorial regime, I guess, have the very strong possibility to be toppled in a very short amount of time. That's not nothing. Flowers where they're due. Again, love him or hate him. His reasoning be damned, so long as we don't go in there and prove all these people right. If they leave these people to set up their own free elections, their own self-sustaining governments, and we strike up trade deals to prop these countries up to make sure that they get on the proper path, that's not nothing. That's huge. And it's not going to be like when Hitler conquered France and it was a puppet government. That's not what's happening here. I mean, just look at everything that's happened with any real non-biased thought.
Well, it's almost June 14th. That's when the war ends.
Yep.
Yeah. By the way, I think the stupidest thing that she said throughout the entire thing, and this should, for me, this is very, very, very telling. If you didn't have it already, here you go. Why would he do that when people are about to go on spring break? That's not all. Why would he do that and hike up gas prices and oil prices when summer is coming as well? Name me a time in the year where it wouldn't impact the economy. Name me a time on the calendar where a war that drives up oil and energy prices wouldn't have an impact. And then name me a president who said, there's an existential threat to the region, something that we've been dealing with for almost 40 years now. We have to go in and stop it. Oh, God, it's spring break in 2 weeks. Let's wait.
Oh, yeah. Also unprovoked. Thousands of Americans killed, by the way. I get that you guys don't care because it took place over decades, right?
Yeah, and this is absolutely not unprovoked. Sure, in the lead up to this, they didn't target any Americans, but they targeted their own people. They gunned down tens of thousands of their own protesters, people protesting the people that protesters in America right now are supporting. And I've seen videos and I've seen clips and pictures of people holding the Ayatollah's picture up in some kind of remembrance. Like, hey, remember the good times back when Iran was awesome? What? No. And this drives me absolutely crazy. They're literally gunning people down in the street. People who, like, some of them, yes, it's a revolution. It gets violent. It's an actual revolution against someone who would kill you just for the sake of killing you, just to shut you up. He shut the internet off in the entire country to the point where only the people who were talking to American news organizations and global news organizations are allowed to talk to people. Like 1 or 2 people are allowed to use the internet in Iran. And people are saying that it's still better than living under Trump, or Iran is only a little fraction of a percent worse off than America. Fuck off. I don't care who or what your position in life in this country is. There is no chance, none, that any person in those countries who aren't strictly connected, who aren't part of the actual fascistic dictatorship that's going on in Iran, that is living a better life than they could. Even some of those people aren't living as good as me. And my life, I mean, other than a few things, one of which is probably staring at the back of my head right now, like, my life's not that great in the grand spectrum of things. Pretty good job, good home life, but as far as position, I don't make a whole lot of money. I'm not out there living large, except for my head. I can't wear hats. But anyway, continuing.
Right, a base here, a ship there, few people here, few civilians here, a reporter there, right? Thousands of Americans killed at the hands of Iran, and they've said they will kill as many as they possibly can. Unprovoked.
Yeah.
No, it's not unprovoked. It's been provoked for a very, very, very long time. And then there was a moment in time where there was an opportunity.
And he tried to negotiate.
And you may disagree with it. That's fine. But don't say unprovoked. Don't say only Israel, because there are plenty of other people in the region, and ourselves included. And don't say this isn't what you voted for, because Donald Trump always said that about Iran, and we just showed you a clip where J.D. Vance did as well. Did you have something to add there?
Exactly.
So,
and we saw that clip
wants
yesterday.
to point out that in the majority of polls, it's a 50-50 split at best. So the majority of Americans.
McLaughlin this morning just came out. It was 51 support, 40-something opposed.
Okay. That's a 50-50 split.
And they say among Republican voters, however, 65 plus are at 86%. 40 to 64, 73%. Where we're seeing the biggest issue is in the under 40 demographic.
Right.
They're at 51%, but you've got quotes like this where kids are saying, I feel betrayed.
Sure.
I don't know why we're fighting if we've never been attacked.
But that's based on a lie. We've never been attacked. That's not true. That's the point.
Right. That's a youth
That's
problem.
the point. I'm sorry, your opinion is not as valid if it's predicated on. I'm not saying you're an idiot. If you say, I don't know why we're doing it with Iran has never attacked us. Bullshit. You don't know what you're talking about. They've attacked us many times, and if they had the capabilities, they would attack us more often. They've attacked us wherever they can when they had opportunity, and they were building up an arsenal so that they could. They were building up an arsenal so that they could build a nuke unfettered. It's not that they were going to have a nuke. It's that they were building up an arsenal so we couldn't stop them from getting a nuke. But anyone who says, I don't know why they've never attacked us, that's an ignorant person. They have many times. Now, if your opinion is, sure, they've attacked us over the last few decades, and they've taken hostages, and they've publicly executed people. There are embassies, of course, where people were tortured. But it's not enough for war. Fine. I may not agree with you, but to say unprovoked because they've never attacked us is wrong.
That's not an opinion.
That's not an opinion.
Yeah, you're entitled to an opinion. I don't think it's enough for war. You're entitled to that opinion, and you have a valid point. But
which might also be why so many people in the military support this, because they've probably had buddies who've been affected by Iran. Everyone knows that they have been bad actors for a very long time and killed many Americans. Let's go to the next clip, see if you can spot the difference between Marjorie Taylor Greene and CNN, where she's speaking.
How insulting is it to Americans that the GOP can't even fund Homeland Security right now, our own government that protects our own homeland, while they're waging some war like 6,800 miles away in a country that none of us have ever been to, against a foreign people that none of us know, killing many of these people, even to the point of killing their children.
Wrong. Okay, so we're killing the regime. That's why the overwhelming majority of the Iranian people are ecstatic about this, and you see that with every diaspora of Iranian people, Persian people around the world. So she's wrong about that. We're going there.
You see people in the country celebrating the few videos that have gotten out.
And we're killing children. Of course, there's collateral damage, so technically that's not a factual error, but again, it's always siding with those who are against the United States. And this is what they always do. Well, if we can't fund this, then how can we fund that? Okay, Sometimes there are budgetary issues where you can't do things unilaterally. You can take military action pretty unilaterally as the president.
Yeah.
That's one thing that people need to understand. You can't really do that. She made the same argument with ICE in cities like Minneapolis. And you have sanctuary cities, you have sanctuary states. It has to go through the courts. This is a very lazy argument that suggests, well, they don't care about Americans. They're just doing this over there because they want to kill Iranians. And then they'll pivot to, they want to help the Iranian people.
Well, and it's one of the craziest things. Like I agree that the government is really bad with spending, especially military spending. But you also have to think, as someone who's been in during at least one term from two different political parties, the mission's going to happen anyway. The only difference in the military spending, because they're going to do what they're going to do, regardless of who's president. The only difference is how equipped these people were going to be, how many people we send in, and the dangers involved. The less people we send, the less money we put into these situations, the more exposed our troops are in any wartime scenario. But as far as spending other things, look, your street that had a pothole last week last month when this thing wasn't happening is still going to have a pothole. Any federal infrastructure, any state infrastructure, no matter what's going on, it's still going to suck as much as it did before. Probably not that much more, if anything. Besides the gas prices, which again, global market, anytime any shipping lane for any kind of oil is halted or slowed, we're going to see it. But then there'll be the steep drop off on the other side as well. Hey, good morning, Shapeshifter.
People, once we see them celebrating, but they don't want to help Americans. It's lazy, it's intellectually dishonest, and it's based on false premises. Did you have something that you were going to add?
Yep. So, like you were saying, opposition for the DHS funding's coming from the Democrats.
Democrats have done this.
Who want to defund ICE in order to resume funding.
Where she could have helped, but she quit.
Right. GOP is attempting to pass some stoppage funding, but Dems are opposing that too. So your solution: vote less rhinos and Dems, vote more MAGA.
It's this.
And this is the thing. People like Marjorie Taylor Greene and the opposing party will halt something and then be like, we can't even fund this thing that we're halting the funding for. Both sides do this. It's a fact. Or they'll team up, or there'll be a rift in the party, or you'll have one or two people on an opposing side. And just for the sake of things, again, I've never liked Candace Owens. I've never liked Tucker Carlson. I've never liked Marjorie Taylor Greene. And what's the other one? The other mean girl on the Republican side of Congress that was wearing the furs with Marjorie Taylor Greene when Biden was speaking, and they were being irate twats in the House of Congress. I don't like that on either side. I didn't like it when Marjorie Taylor Greene did it. I didn't like it when Ilhan Omar did it. I don't care who's president. I don't care if it's Biden. I don't care if it's Trump. For the love of God, let the State of the Union end. The State of the Union address is the closest to Hollywood bullshit that the political sphere ever gets, even though they all go to all those elitist parties. In no world should a politician even be invited or go to the Met Gala. No, they should not be able to afford to do such things. AOC.
Brain rot that comes. Listen, you want to be anti-war? Fantastic. Welcome to the table, because guess what? So am I. Sometimes it is the last resort. Sometimes you've negotiated to the point where you can't do it anymore. And you don't want another North Korea, this time situated in the Middle East, that has a proclivity to pick on its neighbors and want to wipe Israel off the map. Okay, fine. You can hate Israel. But the brain rot that comes with Israel bad leads you to conclusions like she's just made. The DHS thing is because the United States doesn't have money. We can fund it. It's Israel bad, so much so, and they control our president, they control everything else.
Speaking of Israel, I will be getting into, if not tomorrow, I might slide into it this weekend, giggity, Apparently Netanyahu may be dead. People are saying. I'm going to wait till more comes out on it, and I'm not just going to hop onto the thing like, oh, his wedding ring disappeared on this one video. I mean, compression errors and shit like that happen all the time. Watch any ghost video.
That I'm going to take logic and economics and put them over here and never look at them again and
Watch the
well,
debunking
we can't even
of any
defend
ghost
our own
video.
homeland. Well, why is that? It's because it was shut down by the Democrats, you idiot.
Yeah.
You used to know that.
Right.
Before Israel
But
bad.
Donald Trump doesn't buy his own groceries, so everything he does is wrong now. We have one more clip from Marjorie Taylor Greene? Okay.
You know, it's really insulting
Their commercials are pretty funny, but again, I don't have time to watch their advertisements.
to watch America's position in the world where the president just bullies and name calls and basically
Again, do you remember when her and that other was it Boebert were doing the exact same thing to Biden? Yeah, that was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Back when the left hated her, back when the right loved her. I was sitting here like, she's a moron.
harasses foreign leaders all over the world and many of our allies.
Pause.
To the point now where he
That quite literally sounds like she read it from Salon or Slate or Media
Yeah.
Matters.
And it's quite
Especially
literally what she
considering-
did to her own president during a State of the Union address.
Boom.
Think about this.
mean-
This is what the left you say. Don't you want your standing in the world to go, don't you want to be respected? Vote Joe Biden. That's what she's saying. Anyone want to argue that Joe Biden commanded more respect than Donald Trump? Hey, think about this. You want to
She
talk about
wouldn't. She
respect
yelled
in
at
the
him.
world? You may be able to visit Havana. Venezuela. I don't know the major cities in Venezuela. Caracas, Venezuela, I guess, but I don't know. I'm not recommending it. And Tehran in the same year on an Eat, Pray, Love tour, this time next year. Now, I'm using that as an example to make a point, meaning having relationships or open communication with nations that were starving, destroying their own people, and wanted to wipe us off the face of them. Yeah, no, you're right. We're far better off with the alternative. Could you imagine if Marjorie Taylor Greene was in charge of diplomacy? They go, I guess, well, but I mean, I guess they've had everything at this point. Might as well have a retarded person. Let's keep playing.
calling them in to help open the strait so that these very important oil ships can get through. Many of them are not responding. And here Americans spent, I mean, trillions of dollars in our tax dollars defending all of our allies with military bases on these countries' homelands, protecting them, especially Europe and NATO, but yet they are not quick to respond.
So hold on a second. You're saying that Donald Trump is, we're not respected because he's bullying. Hey, you just mentioned NATO. How many nations in NATO paid their agreed contractual amount of 2% military spending on their GDP? How many? Wasn't that like only 2? And now they're going up to 4 or 5%? Sounds to me like he's commanding a little bit more respect. And do you know who else thought that?
And that is one thing I agree with. And again, I know I say this all the time, love him or hate him. The fact that we've been funding the world's defense budget for a long time, allowing some of these Nordic countries to have the pseudo-socialist societies that people like Bernie Sanders will propagate. I used to love Bernie Sanders. I was a Bernie bro for the longest time. I have no respect for this man because when he became a millionaire, he stopped saying the millionaires and the billionaires, and he started just saying the billionaires or oligarchy. I don't think he knows what these words mean. Or he does, and now that he's become one of the things, now he only hates the other things. You know, he's just like any other millionaire in Hollywood, only hating people who have more than him, and trying to get people who have less than him to topple them for him.
That you, when you praised President Trump saying that he was getting these NATO nations to start paying their fair share, until you tried to call him on a weekend and he didn't call you back, and so now you're like a lover scorned. None of it
True story, by the way.
is principled. You are the reason that Republicans should still remain hesitant to put women in positions of power because it's all emotion.
I don't agree with that. Look, any person, male, female, black, white, it really doesn't matter. As long as that's not your only defining characteristic. It's like I used to say, this is probably why I don't get dates on dating sites, or at least back in the day until I got off of them. I would always put, please have something about you that's more interesting, or please don't let just your hair color or your tattoos be the most interesting thing about you. I'm not against hair color. I'm not against tattoos. But most of these people, like, there's a personality type on a lot of those things that says tattooed and pierced. That's pretty much all they are. They need ink therapy, which means everything that they do in life is just to get more tattoos. And again, I'm fine with it, especially if you're making a whole big, like, collage or some big great work or several great works across, whatever. But if that's really all there is to you, like talking to you is like talking to a wall. I mean, sorry, I heard a whisper from the dark behind me. And again, don't feel targeted if you dye your hair or you have tattoos. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not anti any of these things. But if it's the only interesting thing about you,
completely devoid of logic, reason, or consistency, let alone any form of accountability. Noodles, I'm sure you had something.
Yep. So first and foremost, the plan is to announce a coalition to escort ships through this week. So there's that. And then the premise that, this is affecting our NATO allies, and that's why they're not coming to help. Well, 90% of the energy that goes through Hormuz is going to China. So that's who's really being
And China also stepped in and said, Iran, you don't play around with Strait of Hormuz. To give you an idea, when she says this, like, there's no respect. Why do you think that the Cuban government just announced, like, okay, we're willing to open up talks. We're willing to have a conversation. 60+ years. And here's something even funnier. Greta Thunberg, yes, how dare you? Climate change, Greta Thunberg is going with other activists on a boat to Cuba to bring, of course, supplies to the communist government.
Oh, boy.
In order
prelude to what we're talking about in a second.
to protest this administration blocking oil shipments from going to Cuba. Donald Trump got Greta Thunberg to demand that we release oil to Cuba. That's like
how dare
19D magic trick fucking chess.
And just a quick correction, 90% to Asia, predominantly to China.
Yeah, of course, predominantly to China. Even China's like, you better stop screwing around, Iran. Because you know what? Dollars are the bottom line with a lot of these nations. You look at Venezuela, you look at China, you look at Iran, you look at obviously what might happen with Cuba. All of these things directly affect China. And yeah, Russia as well. There's an opportunity because Russia has to spend a lot of their resources on this war. And so guess what? They're not able to be as big of an ally to Cuba. But people like, I bet you Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to blame, this will be the next thing, she'll blame President Trump for the people starving in Cuba, not the communist regime. That kind of stuff. That's what they do. They blame America for everything. They misrepresent it. Do you think that to me, when you read that quote, young people, I feel betrayed. Well, Donald Trump said that he would deal with Iran very harshly and that they should never be able to have a nuke. And he said that Barack Obama's agreement, the JCPOA, was awful. So did J.D. Vance. So you're not betrayed because Donald Trump is going back on his word. We're betrayed because we attacked a nation, that they've never attacked us. You're just completely uninformed. That's just not true.
Yeah.
They've not managed to kill a huge number of Americans on our homeland because they can't, but they would. Because any opportunity that they have seen, they have seized to kill Americans. And not just Americans, anyone who's not Islamic, anyone who's part of Western civilization, anyone who's part of the Western world. Someone who has that opinion has an invalid opinion. Now,
true.
I'm not saying that you're not allowed to have an opinion. I'm not demanding censorship. But I will not grant that an opinion based on an opposite, I don't even know, based on a lie, but based on the opposite of truth. They've never attacked us, therefore my opinion is okay, but your opinion means nothing because they have. It's like saying, well, because the sky is green, I think that it's actually a byproduct of, and you go through, I don't know, carbon emissions, hydrogen. You go, oh, no, hold on a second. It's blue. Your solution has to be discounted because the sky is not green. It's blue.
Yeah, Gerald.
What? Well, it's like, well, I believe that since human beings can breathe underwater, that, well, no, we can't. We breathe air outside of water. So we're not going to continue down this path of an opinion. And it's the same thing that would happen in a court of law if you're basing it on a verifiable mistruth. That's the problem. And then people who've never actually been censored, because most of these people are leftists, just to be clear, they go, censorship! No. Someone correcting your premise because it's a mistruth is not the same as censorship.
Yeah. I also want to address the point that war can only be fought if you're attacked. I understand that we would like it to be that way. We never want to fight a war because we made a choice that we had to, but it's typically not how a lot of, and again, I use Tucker as a good sounding board for this because so many people will hold him up as a reasonable opinion on this. And I'm like, listen, I want you to undercut that at every single point when he's wrong. He's right on a lot of stuff. He's wrong on a lot of stuff as well. This is one of those things. It's not a war of choice like we're just sitting around one day going, who are we going to attack next? It's a war where you have principles laid out that we cannot allow these things to happen. We've been negotiating, we've been trying, we've been doing things left and right. They've been killing our citizens. We've been doing stuff to them. We got Soleimani, got it, fine. There's back and forth, whatever you want to call it. It's not just us sitting around picking a target randomly on a map. It gets to a point where you have to go, and then you go.
Yep.
That's what war is sometimes. You hope it's like that very infrequently because you hope people negotiate and come to a better agreement than war. But in some cases, you got to be a big boy and not the Dave Smiths of the world and the Scott Hortons of the world and say, you can never, ever, ever go to war unless somebody hits you first, because sometimes that's too late.
Well, then even goes further. You can't go to war unless they hit you first, and they have to do it on your soil.
Yes. I thought an embassy
and
was
you have to,
considered
and you can only respond right away, and it has to be commensurate with whatever level of attack they carried out. None of it makes sense.
Then let's stop sending anything to Ukraine.
Ever.
Anywhere.
Let's stop sending anything to anyone ever.
Let's stop defending South Korea. It's not our thing.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then take the troops off the DMZ.
Yeah. Guess it's not our fight. Sorry, our bad. We weren't hit.
And look, we can't fully pull out of every single country. Our base on the border of North and South Korea is pretty much the only reason there are two Koreas. Otherwise it would all just be Korea, Kim Jong-il's, or Un, whichever Kim Jong is there right now. Kim Jong-un? Yeah. Haven't heard from him in a while, by the way.
I guess we screwed that up.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere ever.
As a matter of fact, you'd be pretty hard-pressed to argue that there's any nation out there with a body count as significant as Iran who's gotten away consequence-free for so long. I don't think you could pick one other example who's killed as many Americans on as many separate occasions as Iran and didn't have to deal with hellfire.
You imagine if Russia did that?
Yeah. It is wild to me to, and I want to say I'm not like super like, it's not like a dream come true going to war with Iran, but
no.
It is super ironic to see these people in America screaming the names Alex Preddy, Renee Good, those people that died in Minnesota, and you see some of them on the fringe left saying, we need to take him out. Trump needs to be taken out. Man, I wish somebody would take out Trump. I wish somebody would kill Trump after the Maduro thing. It's like, wow, I wish somebody would do that to Trump. Would somebody come kill him or take him away?
Yeah.
And Iran had thousands of Alex Preddys. Mm-hmm. Thousands of Renee Good.
No, they had people who were actually killed by their government just to silence them. And like I said, shooting into crowds of protesters is not the same thing as getting in the way of the standard procedure of a federal organization and trying to injure them and getting shot. Spraying at random into a crowd, again, is not the same thing as whether it was done out of fear or intent, trying to gun your vehicle into a federal agent or look, and the Preddy thing, this bothers me. If you carry a weapon, concealed or otherwise, and it's very apparent that you have it, okay? And yes, I do think that police work was very shoddy, okay? Someone saw the gun under in his belt strap, said gun, and one guy grabbed it and took off with it, and people in the heat of the moment heard gun and shot him. On the other hand, Alex Preddy's not innocent by any stretch of the imagination. Two things can be true at the same time. Those officers were negligent, retarded, and Alex Preddy got himself killed at the same time. These can both be true at the same time. And it's okay for the Preddy family to be mad at those officers, but they should also be mad at Preddy himself. Because there's many, many videos of him damaging police vehicles, attacking police officers, or ICE agents, whatever. Multiple occasions of this, unprovoked. Okay, because he thought he had the moral authority. The same way that people see the church feeling that they have the moral authority to do all the things that they do. You're just fighting the opposition the same way that they've always fought you, but you're doing it worse because, especially if you've only ever heard about it, as a lot of these people only have, either from teachers or parents, makes it seem a lot worse. I mean, scary stories are scary for a reason. Living through it, especially if it's a ongoing situation, I mean, you kind of get used to these things.
It's over 2 days, about 30,000.
Well, you're talking about their own protesters. You're talking about, too, about...
And doing that, taking him out is bad.
Yeah. No.
That is a fringe part of the left that'll say that, okay? That the Venn diagram is very small on that portion, but they exist, and they're out there, and they're loud.
These people, well, think about it, is Greta Thunberg.
Greta
you know what I would love?
Thunberg?
If when she gets to Cuba, she's greeted by the people of Cuba and not liaisons in the government.
Yeah.
If she's greeted by the people who burned down the communist headquarters.
Oh, no.
You know what? Hey, Greta Thunberg, go talk with any fucking Cuban American in South Florida. Go talk with any of them.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty cool. You have a boat.
Yeah, there we go.
Wait, like a boat.
No. We can't send anything to Cuba. Can't send anything to Cuba, man. You're going to go to the government. They're not going to give to people. You have to starve them out. It's painful, but it's more painful for 65 years. They killed my brother because he played a saxophone. You fetal alcohol bitch.
How dare you?
One.
I don't know what he's talking about on that one.
Oh, you're still here.
All right.
Which is a miracle in the age of
All right, so quickly,
Instagram.
we're running out of time. We'll get into a little bit of the actual Greta
Greta
Thunberg story.
Empath Greta Thunberg is having an absolute meltdown that Cuba's...
And let's keep in mind, this person is famous for reading a script that her parents wrote before the UN, finger wagging at us. These parents used their autistic kid for brownie points and made this person very famous. I, however, don't care about Greta Thunberg as far as I don't think she's a serious person because she's mostly just partying with the children of elites who want to make it look like it's just like, yes, let's throw 5% to charity. Like these people are literally like the whole boat ride through the Mediterranean when they were going to take relief and aid to Israel. They had a few fucking sandwiches on board, okay? These people accidentally set their own boat on fire and said that they were drone strikes. We've covered this in past shows. They said that it was Israel drone striking them because they were afraid of them. And then they said that they were detained and might get killed or disappeared by Israel when they got there. Israel just put them on a plane, something that Greta Thunberg despises, air travel, which is why she takes her little boat all over the place. And, but, yeah. Lord Farquaad haircut. But yeah, that's all she does. She rides around with the children of elites and adult children, of course, but the kids of elites, people who live off mommy and daddy's money. She gets donations from these people to fund all of her little excursions. And she basically just parties and drives to all these places for clout. You will never convince me otherwise that anything that Greta Thunberg does is for anything but clout. And to make these little videos.
Collapsing.
And that's it.
She's actually a leftist communist, and she doesn't actually care about human rights, which is why she supported Gaza. You know, the people that started the war and lost miserably. And she moved on from the environment when people didn't care about the environment anymore, and then she saw the trend started shifting to free Palestine, so she decided to take a boat. Oh, yeah, Cuba.
And as far as, look, I don't care about global warming as a whole, or cooling, or climate change, or whatever the hell you want to call it. I care, of course, but we should start leaning towards a fuel alternative and all this other stuff. Start adjusting the infrastructure. Start actually going deep into it. But just wanting to turn off the oil, because the only real reason that any of this started was a future for our children, a future for our children's children. And then, but, and again, the world will be okay. The world has reset before. It'll reset again. Humans are a finite portion of the Earth's history. Especially if you believe evolution and the whole bit, okay? But the Earth will absorb us back into it and start anew. So I don't fear climate change because it's just the world doing what it does. It cleanses, it starts over. Now, if you care about the children and the children's children, if you just stop all oil production, as we've just seen happen in Cuba, which is what's got her all pissed off this time, hundreds of thousands of millions of all the people will die. So many people will die. Other than people, except for people who already lived that way, all the people will die. If we can just completely dead stop without a good alternate wind energy, hydro energy, bless you, solar energy, these are not sustainable means to keep the populace going at the rate that we currently use. It's just not. Now, if that's your goal, then cool, good job. But if you actually care about the future of the children and the children's children, then you cannot have the oil go away, or else people will also go away and they won't come back. Anyway.
She's going to take a boat to Palestine. Well, no one cares about Palestine anymore. We've moved on to other things. Oh, Cuba! She has to defend Cuba, the communist regime that's literally imprisoning people for speech. Well, her meltdown is honestly glorious.
We need to talk about what's happening in Cuba right now.
Yeah, we need to talk about it.
Agreed. We do need to talk about what's happening in Cuba right now.
Trump administration is waging illegitimate wars across the world, killing...
It's illegitimate wars! No! Actually, technically, the wars are undocumented, not illegal. All right, yeah. There are no illegitimate wars on stolen land. Did you not get the memo? Did you not get the memo? Hi, you with the wig over here. All right, get out of here. Get out of here. No one cares. No one cares about your labels. The labels mean nothing anymore. All right, you tried to control us with words. We are men. Men don't believe that you can just control us with emotional wordplay. Sorry, bro. That shit's over. All right. Go back to 2015. All right. Go back to 2015. All right.
How dare you?
It is also strangling the Cuban people.
No, actually, the Cuban people are being strangled by communism. They're not being strangled by dictators.
The Cuban people were being strangled beforehand. That's why they, for decades now, have been floating over here on absolutely anything that they could find, because they live basically on what's the name? The Rock in San Francisco Bay or whatever. Alcatraz. They basically live on a giant Alcatraz. Which is why we have so many immigrants here, and they're fantastic people. They have great work ethic. Some of my few friends that I have here are Cuban immigrants, and they're awesome. And they're very much into what's going on right now. The same way that my friends who are Venezuelan immigrants are also. They're scared for their families who live in Caracas, but all their family's fine, thank God.
Deliberately, methodically, and openly. The pedophile Trump himself bragged.
She should really slander her. There's no evidence he's a pedophile, but they just run with it. Again, the irony is, like, she was out there defending Hamas. Hamas are pedophiles. They take children as sex slaves in Hamas.
And we're going to do a bit of a dive on that, the extremeness of the religion behind some of these terrorist cells.
Right? Like, let's just understand. She is pro-Hamas. Actual child sex slave takers. Right?
Yeah.
Everything Jeffrey Epstein did was legal under Hamas's laws. Just to be clear.
Yeah, this is true. Just real quick. Muhammad took a bride of 6 years old, but he didn't officiate the marriage, so to speak, until she was 9. It's pretty disgusting stuff. Just like he said, Epstein's island would be legal under Sharia law.
About it, saying there's an embargo, there's no oil, there's no money, there's no anything.
You mean to tell me that Cuba actually wasn't able to keep itself afloat? You mean to tell me that Cuba couldn't survive because it was a communist dictatorship and it only survived because foreign powers were literally propping it up? Oh, that sounds like a them problem. That sounds like a communist problem. That doesn't sound like a Trump problem.
He said it like it was something to be proud of.
Absolutely. He managed to strangle Cuba's communist government by toppling a dictator in Venezuela. That, by the way, is a narco-terrorist that's been flooding our country with drugs, doing a completely legitimate act of justice by taking that dude, throwing him in a cell, and toppling the regime in Venezuela. And now Venezuela's licking our balls. All right, they put up an American flag in the American embassy in Venezuela for the first time in decades. All right, and Cuba can't stand on its own 2 feet because it's a communist dictatorship reliant on foreign powers. That seems like a them problem.
While millions of people have been plunged into darkness by rolling blackouts.
Holy shit, those people should rise up and overthrow their communist overlords.
While
What's that? That we finally got them not dependent on oil? Look, it's fucked up what's happening right now. But this is the only way to end the communist regime that runs them. They're finally coming to the table to have a discussion. We'll probably get into that soon when we hear back from all the things that happened in that conversation, if we do. But it's horrible what's happening to the people. But they literally, the headquarters for the Communist Party in Cuba was lit on fire by their people a couple of days ago. This is huge. This is amazing. The people are doing what needs to be done. Oh, shit. No, I didn't mean to make her face bigger.
While ambulances run out of fuel, while shelves go empty.
I can't believe the Cuban communists would do this to their own people. I love how leftists just don't believe in basic human consequence. Human consequences just does not even enter the mind of your average leftist. And you'll notice almost all leftist discourse is like this. All right, so the reason why they don't have power is because it's a communist regime that literally doesn't actually produce anything itself, and it strangled its own people for years. It only survived until now because it was literally funded by American adversaries in our hemisphere. Now that the American adversaries were stopped, now they can't survive. That is a literal result of the communist dictatorship that has been strangling their own people. But again, leftists don't understand. It's not that they don't believe in consequences. They don't understand consequences. Like, for example, the fact that Gaza got flattened was because Hamas decided to start a fucking war against a superpower, respectively.
Yeah.
And comparatively speaking. All right? Hamas had zero ability to actually win a war against Israel. But they don't care because they're barbaric terrorist death cults, and they decided to just go in and rape and capture and murder as many innocent people as they possibly could.
Funded by Iran, by the way.
And then the consequences of their action was total and absolute obliteration and defeat. So, of course, leftoids like Greta Thunberg decided to support them, not understanding the actual consequences were that they were going to get fucking obliterated when they lost. And again, it's the same thing in Cuba and the same thing in Iran. The reason why the left is pro-Iran is because they don't understand that the consequences to the Iranian regime waging war on us for 47 years was us bombing the fucking shit out of them. They just can't even possibly comprehend that. That would be the consequence to them committing acts of terror against the United States for the last 47 years. And it's the same thing here in Cuba. This is the leftist mind. They just don't understand basic consequences.
The United Nations has warned of imminent humanitarian crisis.
Oh no, the United Nations will write a strongly worded letter.
Intensive care units and emergency rooms are compromised. Newborns, the elderly, the sick, all paying the price.
The price of communism, okay? It's not Trump's fault that they're a completely and utterly helpless government. It's not Trump's fault that they are falling apart. They're falling apart totally because it's a communist dictatorship. All right, but you don't understand that. You'd rather just blame the orange man.
This is not an accident
True.
or an unfortunate side effect of...
Correct. I totally agree. It is the obvious consequence of communism.
Some policy disagreement. This is the intended outcome.
True.
Since 1962, the U.S. embargo has been designed, in the words of the U.S. State Department itself, to bring about hunger, desperation, and overthrow the government. Now,
sometimes governments need to get overthrown, especially when they're in our hemisphere and they're threatening us.
Agreed. And the prolonged suffering of the Cuban people lies on our empathy. On these things, you either have to be all the way in. Look, we should either, and this is why we need to come to a consensus on these things and have some kind of agreement. Either we treat them like a normal country and allow them to flourish or fail by themselves, or we completely cut them off and choke them out so that their people can rise and create the country that they wish to create after they topple the regime. But this whole back and forth thing, this whole trying to be stern, but at the same time being suicidally empathetic, it's too much. We have to be able to talk amongst ourselves and talk with these people and try to figure out what's best. Instead of being like, oh, no, we know what's best. Oh, no, we know what's best. We're basically the two roly-polies from A Bug's Life.
Sometimes they need to fall apart. And by the way, this embargo, that just means that they're left to their own devices. They're falling apart because we're leaving them to fend for themselves. All right? I'm sorry. No country has an inherent right to exist. All right? I'm sorry if this is a controversial statement. And that's all the countries. That includes Israel. It includes the United States. That includes Cuba. All right? No country has an inherent right to exist if it can't literally survive. All right? Because, you know, the way history has always worked is nations rose, nations fell. That's kind of how life is. All right? So they don't have a right to exist. We don't need to prop them up. All right? If they can't literally support themselves, well, that's kind of fucking on them.
Now the Trump administration is escalating it further, plotting what they themselves have called a takeover of the island.
Actually, it was a peaceful takeover of the island.
We cannot be silent about this.
Agreed. We should all be talking about this.
Cuba did not stay silent when the world needed it.
True. Cuba is currently overthrowing its communist dictators.
For over 60 years, Cuba sent its doctors to all corners of the earth.
Specifically pushing leftist commie causes, yeah.
Cuban medical workers fought Ebola in West Africa.
Wow. 4 guys did a good thing. Let's let communists keep killing people, I guess.
Africa. They responded to disasters in Haiti. They trained generations of doctors from all...
Okay, so did Israel, okay? And so did the United States, okay? But where are you praising the U.S.? It doesn't happen. All right, it's literally picking and choosing every single time. All right, so this is an anti-United States person who thinks that the United States is the root of all evil, all right? The United States did more for Ebola than Cuba, all right? The United States trained more doctors than Cuba. Obviously, that doesn't even enter your reasoning at all.
All over the world. When liberation movements were fighting for independence...
Right now, there is a liberation movement fighting for independence in Cuba.
From colonial rule across Africa...
Yes, yeah. There's a liberation movement in all 3 of these countries that we're currently helping to liberate.
And much of the world was looking the other way. Cuba stood in solidarity. Not just in...
And now most of those countries that shrugged off colonial rule, I'm sorry this is going to be a nuclear take, people aren't going to like it, are shitholes. That's right. Some of them were better off under colonial rule. Again, I'm not justifying colonial rule or anything, but it was a lot better for a lot of the people there. Just saying.
In words, but in action, with real material support.
Wow.
Cuba stood up for the world, and now it is time for the world to stand up for Cuba.
I am standing up for Cuba.
That's what we're doing. Yeah, exactly. That's what we're doing. This is us standing up for Cuba. We're doing what should have been done a long time ago. These people have been suffering for long enough.
Tired of this quite literally communist dictatorship. I am trying to make Cuba great again.
This has been going on my entire life. Iran's been going on my entire life. Venezuela, haven't really been paying attention too much, but it's been going on for a while as well.
You are trying to keep Cuba in the clutches of a communist dictator.
On the 21st of March, The Nuestra America convoy arrives in Havana, carrying humanitarian aid by air, land, and sea.
Beautiful.
That day has been declared the International Day of Solidarity with Cuba, and I'm asking all of you, every friend of peace, every defender of the right
I'm a friend of peace, which is why we need to kill as many terrorists as possible to make sure that there's peace.
of peoples to determine their own futures.
I believe in peace through strength, not weakness through war.
Join. Wherever you are in the world, go to your local U.S. embassy and make your voice heard.
Hey guys, we all need to be annoying leftists again. It worked so well all the other times.
Yeah.
Congratulations, my fellow annoying leftists. We are rising up, and we're going to be talking about them.
Find your local Cuba Solidarity Network. Organize something in your community. Show up. Because the right of the Cuban people to...
There's no such thing as human rights. That's not a real thing. That's made up by leftists to make you upset about yourself. All right, there's no such thing as human rights. Human rights are a social construct. They don't actually exist.
That is true.
All right, I'm so tired of these people. Like, again, this is what I mean by how leftists operate. They invent things. They just invent things, not material things. They invent concepts, and then they enslave you to their concepts. All right? The human rights of the Cubans are at risk. Yeah. The Cuban government is literally killing and imprisoning people for disagreeing with the communist government that destroyed their country. Okay? All right? But they don't consider that a violation of human rights.
No,
You know
no,
what
of course
violation
not.
of human rights is? Trump bad. That's the violation of human
No. People like Sean Penn will go to these countries and be like, "Oh, hey, look at this one really awesome store." Like, have you seen the what's that? The interview? Pretty much that. The thing that got James Franco's character all confused and like, "Oh, hey, this place ain't so bad." Yeah.
Human rights.
That.
Because actually, human rights are whatever I want them to be at any amorphous time. That is leftoid talking points 101. There's no such thing as human rights. The only human right is free will.
To build their own society, free from siege and economic sabotage, is not a matter of partisanship. It is a matter of basic human dignity.
Disagree. These guys are our enemies. We don't owe them help.
The people in power do not act unless we compel them to.
One battle after another is not a good film.
You to overthrow the communist government.
So now we compel them. Together,
now we compel them. We will take a lot of incredibly bitchy, lonely, depressed leftists and put them in front of embassies to cry in public. Oh yeah, this'll work. Oh yeah.
We say it loudly and clearly. Cuba sí, bloqueo no.
Holy shit, we're just gonna say words in front of embassies. Damn, leftists.
Oh, look, they put the star right over her autistic
now,
eye.
The funny thing is, normal leftists that aren't like these activist type leftists, and again, I say normal leftists with a caveat, because you have to be a little bit satanic to be a leftist. But normal leftists, meaning not
I don't agree with that.
the activist,
Well, I mean,
woke
maybe, but
retards, are all like, holy shit.
But if you don't believe in it, then what do you care what he says?
Actually incredible. Even Bill Maher, again, I've been quoting him a lot lately because I love looking into the leftist mindset. All right, I always like looking at my critics, at the critics of positions that I appreciate. So, you know, I'm always willing to broaden my perspective. If I'm wrong about something, I'm willing to learn. So Bill Maher is a liberal guy that's just literally been glazing Trump constantly while sighing because he hates Trump. Right?
No, he doesn't
hates
secretly
Trump,
anything.
like,
He hates
Trump does is actually good or something.
Which is
we've
fine.
seen
It's understandable.
these demonstrations in Iran before, but this was bigger, and more people have died. But I think maybe more people have died because he said he was going to help. This looks like a Bay of Pigs to me. This looks like America's going to come and help you. Where is it? Remember the Kurds in '91 when they...
America's helping Bill. All right, so he's like, I don't understand. Why did America say they were going to help? Because they're helping.
Thought they were going to get help from America.
Awkward.
Vietnam could make the same claim. I mean, a lot of people have felt let down by us. I thought Trump was different. Where are you on his...
And this is in January, I think.
Right before the war. It's so
yeah.
On this, because all these bodies that I see, these body bags in Iran, I think a lot of those people went in the streets because they thought, oh, he said he's got our back this time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Where's the help?
You doubted.
Dramatic pause.
You doubted Orange Hitler? You fool.
Well, the generals have told us that...
Shut up, one lady in the audience.
A massive number of troops. It will be another Iraq.
Well, then what did he mean when he said...
I don't know. But
now we know. We wiped out the entire regime. We wiped out their
And
military.
I love
Now
Kennedy here. I love Kennedy in general.
But if you look at it from a larger
Dude, I love looking back in time. All these retards being like, Trump bad for telling the Iranian people he would help. Also, Trump bad for war with Iran. Like, you can't win with these people. That's why you always have to just laugh at them. Right? The solution isn't trying to, use facts and logic to convince the leftist that he's wrong. No, you have to brutally humiliate them. All right, this is a very important point because they actually have an unbelievable, insurmountable ego. So you just have to humiliate them as much as you can.
If you look at it from our perspective, because of Israel, this is one person's opinion, because of Israel and President Trump's backing of Israel, the Middle East is safer than it has been in 20 years.
Absolutely.
Hamas
Yes.
is on its knees,
100%.
I agree. On its knees.
Shut up.
Credit for that.
Iran no longer looks invincible, and you know who is applauding us every step of the way, not out loud, but the Arab countries.
Look, if
They're doing it out loud now.
Get ready.
Causes Cuba to fall.
Right, get ready.
If he somehow gets Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran all to be not these horrible places they were, he should get a Nobel Peace Prize.
Yep, there it was.
This was in January. All right.
I'm pointing like you can see my fucking hands, but yeah, that, all of that.
Watch my next 1.5 months later. Cuba's
literally 6 weeks
Venezuela
later.
is our bitch, and Iran is on fire. Oh my God!
It hasn't happened yet, but it's happening.
Cuba and Iran to all follows, you get a Nobel Peace Prize. We'll hold you to that, sir. Anyway, again, Bill Maher's he's out there interviewing.
I need to watch this interview with Sean
Trump
Penn.
so much.
I probably
They're
won't watch it
actually
on this,
supporting the
but
communists, and he can't stand it.
I have not been invited. The only reason I would not accept an invitation is because I see.
This is talking about the White House.
yeah, this is Sean Penn berating Bill Maher for going to the White House at all.
It's a long flight.
Because you shouldn't talk to people who you disagree with.
Really, you meet with fucking
I don't think
Castro and Hugo Chavez, but not the president of the United States.
And that's my response.
I saw good results come out of some of those things.
Have you though?
Have you? That I had. I don't think that there's anything that I would. I just personally wouldn't trust anything that was said in the room.
He meets up with communist dictators.
Yeah.
But he won't meet with Donald Trump.
He's met with more dictators than I could probably name right here. But he won't meet with a Republican president. I mean, I get it. I probably wouldn't either, but I wouldn't go talk to the dictators either. I mean, I probably would because I'm just absolutely fascinated and curious. And I probably would because eating at the White House right now would probably be the fanciest meal I've ever had, which, considering my upbringing and the way I've lived my life, it wouldn't take a lot. But I don't know. It'd be an interesting conversation, and I would, with the dictators, I would probably be murdered. With Trump, I would probably be murdered. No, he would definitely probably want to, though. But then most people do. So
we're dealing with here,
including the personality.
It's not a matter of trusting it. It's a matter of seeing it, matter of experiencing, matter of knowing it.
Yeah, it's
more knowledge. It's like saying I don't want this medical test because I don't want to know. I want to know.
Yeah,
I want to. Okay.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I mean,
I have some good friends that are.
I said this many times within the piece when I did it that it's up to. I'm just giving you the report. It's up to you to make the decision. Who do you think is the real guy? I'm telling you. There's a very different guy behind closed doors in a different setting. Now,
or capable of performatively seeing that, yeah.
Well, one of my friends who believe in astrology would say he's a Gemini. Of course, there's two of them. Okay, that's one way to look at it. Other people will say, well, the real guy is the guy you met, and he's playing this clown on TV.
And I will say, I do like that people will still talk with Bill Maher, who opposes them on a lot of things. But it's always been like that in the other direction. Like, he will have anyone on his show. And I got a lot of respect for him. He's probably, as far as people in the political sphere, he's probably who I have the most respect for. I don't agree with him on everything, but I agree with his overall mantra, which is, I'll talk to anybody, no matter how retarded I think you are. I'll tell you you're retarded, and you'll come back because you want the airtime. I mean, you'll come back because it's good for whatever.
And other people will say the reverse. You know, he said, well, I mean, it seems harder to do the reverse. I mean, can you really pretend to be sane? You can pretend to be insane. I think it's harder to pretend to be sane.
I do it every day. I pretend to be sane every day.
All the things I said.
I can't believe we're having libtards eating each other over over Trump every single day. It's amazing.
Which is just what happened. So again, there's three parts of this. Would you go to the dinner? I think you're crazy not to. Not to want to see up close the person who's this important in everybody's lives for the last decade.
You know, I completely understand that.
Two, are you going to lie about it? I'm sorry, I'm not a liar. I don't lie, so I told the truth.
The truth is, he actually liked Trump. That's crazy.
And I will say, he does always give his honest opinion. He tells the truth as best he knows it. That's one of the reasons why I respect Bill Maher. It's not always accurate because in this day and age where people give half-truths, if any truth at all, the truth seems to be malleable. It's not. There's side A, side B, and then the truth somewhere in between, generally. But I will give it to Bill Maher. He does genuinely seem to try to get to the actual truth of things.
Three,
eventually.
Do I go back to doing what I always did? Yes, I did.
Yeah, but you could have told more truth or you could have told less truth.
I told a lot of truth. I told everything.
I would have enjoyed a
We literally have leftists being like, yo, you need to be a little less honest in regards to saying you agree with Trump. Like,
and that is what Sean Penn is about to say here.
Propagandist.
He said you could have
more brevity on that. But I absolutely understand that.
But that's just emotional. You were just triggered.
True.
It's possible. It's possible.
And that is one thing that it's great about this whole situation is that people are pissed off that he's telling the exact truth the way things went down instead of just shitting on Trump, which is it's easy to do. The truth should always be the objective, not the party, not the side, not the message, not the mantra. It should always be the truth when you're in the at least in the media sphere. It should always be it. You should not striving to be the first to more than likely be wrong. It should not be the objective, but that's the way it's been since we switched to a 24-hour news cycle. Not that it was that much more correct beforehand, but the 24-hour news cycle means we have to be the quickest to the story so we can move on to the next story. And then if we were wrong, we can just, for the lawyers, we'll throw something on page 16.
It's true that,
but I
for some reason, this particular president triggers me rather often.
Exactly.
I love it, bro. They just admit to having Trump derangement
Douchebag teenagers
now.
cruising down the
It used to
street.
be like, no, it doesn't exist. Yeah, it exists a little bit. And they all have it.
He makes people crazy, but he's not making me crazy. But
anymore.
So you really wouldn't go?
No, I don't. I'm not saying I think I wouldn't because let me put it this way: what I know I would not do.
Especially, he's very.
I would not go. Let's say. So, for example, when we talk about this very different president of Uruguay, there were things that Uruguay
Can't even get a fucking sentence out. You'll fly to Havana and Caracas, break bread with communist dictators. You won't sit with your own president. Like, it's so unbelievable. And these people are getting obliterated. Obliterated. They can't possibly be real. Like, these can't be real people. Right? Everyone is saying this now. Caleb Hammer, he's a relative centrist. He's not like pro-Trump. He's not a religious guy, all right? People overthrowing a communist dictatorship is a good thing. Can't wait to see the anti-West people freak out at people wanting freedoms. And this is like the normal opinion. Cuba enters its 8th straight night without power as protests spread across the island. No fuel shipments in 3 months. Oh my dude. Oh, but Greta Thunberg told me that actually we need to let the communist dictatorship remain. Dude, like, look at this. The entire country is falling apart at the seams. All right, it's unbelievable.
This is amazing. This is absolutely amazing.
Okay, so he asked Zoran Mamdani
Who are you voting for mayor?
As you can see, this has 18 million views. All right, asking Zoran Mamdani voters, what is your favorite socialist country? All right, get ready. It's awesome.
For mayor. I like Cuomo, but I think Mamdani might be pulling the lead a little bit with me. What's your favorite example of socialism that's worked?
There are no
I don't
examples.
have a big example of it, of socialism.
Because there are none.
Between Venezuela, Cuba, Soviet Union. What's your favorite one? Man, you put me on the spot. I'm gonna have to go Cuba. Man. I'm gonna have to go.
All your Cuban friends hate you now. They're not hate because
it's just so complicated.
Again,
I got so much information.
every Cuban I've ever met has been fantastic.
The future of the Democratic Party.
Except for my one buddy's wife.
Much information. He has too much information. He's overflowing
But other than
with
that.
info. So he had to say Cuba's his favorite communist country. Well, sir, I don't know if you've been looking into Cuba lately, but this is just another example of leftists not having any idea what the fuck they're talking about. It's insane. So, voter for Mamdani chooses Cuba as his favorite socialist country. This is Cuba then and now, right? Pay attention. This is Cuba, 1930s, no communism. Functioning society.
Yeah.
Beautiful, clean, cars, people working, people normally dressed. This is Cuba in 2023 under communism. Absolute shithole. No cars. Bikes everywhere.
Yeah, like this is absolutely tragic.
They can't afford food. They can't afford electricity. The streets are a wreck. No one could fix the streets. Who's gonna pay them to fix the streets? No one has freaking money. No one has money. Everyone's wearing rags. Look, I'm not even exaggerating. Like, and the video just goes on. We can keep going. This is a 3-minute long compilation. A 3-minute long compilation of Cuba before and after communism. Explain to me how over a century it regressed this far. Communism is the answer, actually. For those of you not paying attention, the communism is the answer. Socialism only works in two places. Heaven,
Yeah, and this right here,
and hell, where they already
perfection.
had Ronald Reagan. Absolute banger quote.
The only
Elon
people
Musk
who makes it
retweeted that
huge
saying, only one side
in
has
communist
to build the
countries
wall to keep people
are the
from
people
escaping.
running the communist country. They live like
Risk their
kings.
lives on a tiny boat to get
Like
from
any
Cuba to
dictatorship.
America, but none go the other way. God, bro is literally fucking
White
on
people will
fire.
go to visit Cuba and talk about the beaches and how wonderful the results are or whatever. More so in Mexico on that one, but it's absolutely retarded. Don't listen to rich people about anything, except for maybe how to be rich. But then again, you'll only be rich in money. You won't be rich in spirit. Oh. But anyway, that's all we've got for today. Look, I know we've been getting on some serious topics, and I keep promising that we'll get on some more fun topics, but man, I don't know. Everybody's always so negative of late, but I try to put in whatever comedy I could put in all these things, which hasn't been a whole lot. It's early in the morning. I'm working on things, but again, good things are coming. This isn't like George R.R. Martin, hopefully not, where I promise good things and then I never finish the fucking books. But things are in the pipeline. Yeah. Probably looking towards maybe Friday night. We'll get another edition of the Resident Evil streams. Might finish it. I don't know how much is left in the game. I'll have to check that out after you leave RPD. How much more of the game is left? Probably like 3-4 hours the way I play. We'll see. But yeah, should be one more go through, and then I'm going to start probably the next one after that. But anyway, that's all today. This has been The Associated Guest. I've been Alfie Animus. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate you.